If there's any film out there that I have a love-hate relationship with, then it's definitely cinema film. When properly developed in ECN2 chemistry, the colors and tones of Kodak Vision3 are unlike any other stock on the market. My personal favorite is 50D, the internet's favorite seems to be 250D, and 500T is the favorite of people who shoot gas stations at midnight. The one stock of Vision3 that you don't see a lot of people talking about is 200T, which I actually shot for the first time recently. I was shooting video for the U Sports Men's Final 8 tournament down in Calgary just the other weekend, and I decided to bring down my Nikon L35AF and my first roll of 200T, which was respooled by Flickfilm. The Jack Simpson gym was actually a pretty ideal place to be shooting this film. When I white balanced my camera with a gray card, I got 3500 for my white balance, which is right in the range of tungsten film. When it came time to invert the negatives, I didn't have to do much when it came to white balance. I used the Noritsu profile in Negative Lab Pro and just left it set to auto neutral. I turned it off on a couple shots and quite honestly there wasn't much of a difference between that and no white balance whatsoever. Now there were only 2 shots where I went through and actually did more white balancing. The first one was this photo of the entrance because there was natural light coming in, which is much different than the tungsten light in the gym, and this other photo of our little hidden media area back room. I don't know exactly what color temperature the light was, but it was much cooler than the 3500. To me, 200T just sort of sits in an awkward place, at least when you're using it for stills. Because it's a 200 speed film, it's not the most ideal for indoor usage, and you might just end up jumping up to 500T film because you can use faster shutter speeds or you can stop your aperture down more. With 200, you're gonna end up being a little bit limited. You have to settle for slower shutter speeds or shoot wide open. You can get away with that in video because you're likely shooting 1/48th or 1/50th for your shutter speed. But when it comes to stills, you can't really freeze any action at that. Some of my shots I was able to because I used the flash, but otherwise you can tell in some shots that there's a little bit of motion blur or they're not as sharp as you'd expect. Tungsten balanced film isn't ideal for outdoors because it's generally in the 32 to 3500 Kelvin ballpark. Outdoors on a sunny day is about 5600. Now you can use an 85B warming filter and that'll get you to about the right color balance, but there's a lot of 200 speed films out there that you don't need to remove remjet for and that a lot of labs can process. Which leads into the hate part of my love-hate relationship with cinema film. It seems like no matter what I do when it comes to the pre-bath process, I still end up with leftover remjet on my negatives. I try wiping it off with peg pads, and even though my process keeps improving every time, I still waste a lot of time watching the film a second time and then photoshopping out the remjet that I still can't seem to get off. Despite it being a hassle, the results are still worth it to me. And as we move forward, remjet-based cinema film will slowly be phased out in favor of Kodak's AHU Vision3 film stocks. If you're out of the loop, Kodak has reformulated their Vision3 films so that they no longer need this carbon-based layer of remjet on top. Instead now, it's all baked into the emulsion. It still prevents static discharge, and it still prevents halations, but it doesn't require a pre-bath. Any lab that can process C41 or ECN2 can still process this film. There's no more need for a pre-bath. This opens the door for a lot more people to shoot cinema film. Most local labs don't want to take in ECN2 film because they don't have a way of dealing with that remjet layer. If they do even accept it, they'll typically send it out to a lab and there will be a significant upcharge for it. Now that it won't be an issue with AHU film stocks, you can take this anywhere and get it developed. Now, respooled AHU film is not quite as abundant. One, because it hasn't been on the market as long as the remjet-based stocks, but two, Kodak has started cracking down on respoolers, and a lot of these companies are having a hard time getting their hands on the stock. The only 2 places I've been able to find it at so far have been Downtown Camera and Toronto, and through Reflex Lab. Reflex Lab has more stocks available right now. They have 250D, which they call 320D, and they have 500T, which they call 640T. If you want to see some samples of the 250D, I have them up for you right now. These were all taken on my Nikon L35AF, and it was cross-processed with C41 chemistry. So here's hoping that respoolers can keep getting their hands on this. Personally, I'd love to be shooting some medium format AHU stock because I'm just terrible when it comes to getting that remjet off. But as it becomes more popular, as hopefully we get more stock, it becomes accessible to more people. Let me know what your favorite stock is of the Kodak Vision 3 lineup, and I'll see you in the next one.